Overall, I feel that we produced a very good show, but at the same time, a very inconsistent show. As on our first night, we delivered a very strong performance, both vocally, physically, and we were very much on our cues, giving it a much nicer feel to the play, and it felt like a finished product, which we should have all been very proud of. Unfortunately, we let that drop quite a lot during the second night, during the matinee performance, where people were slow on their cues, and it overall was just not a very nice experience for us all. The third night, I feel we did bring it back a lot more, but it was nowhere near the capabilities it could have been, and from the high of the first night, we really never really got it back to that standard in the end. Looking at each performance individually, I can definitely see where our problems were. During the second night especially, I feel that within that matinee performance, we came in too late, as we had the attitude that we've done this show once, it's fine, we can just go straight ahead and do it again. If we did something like a text defamiliarization, I feel that we could have maybe been more thorough and active on our lines and been able to make it more of a fresh performance. When looking at the set we had, I feel that we very much underused its capabilities. Having an entire house built for us with multiple layers of set for different locations being brought on, we ourselves never actually made it feel like it was a different location. We weren't reacting to the environment any differently, whether we were inside the house or out having a picnic. I feel that we really underused our dress rehearsals in the fact that we went into the new theatre without a finished product. We were going in there with a very rough copy, which some people were still struggling with lines, as even in one of the final dress runs, someone came on with a script. And overall, we were just being very lazy with our vocal warm-ups, and it just led to a lot of lines being lost. Along the lines of people being lazy, there were definitely during the shows some problem with cues, as in a few sections some people had to improvise on the spot due to people being late. One noticeable one was for Lucy and Joden, as Lucy's supposed to walk up into the house and be met by Saskia, but Saskia was not there, and Lucy then just had to come straight back out and sort of mess up the flow of the plot a little, due to the fact that she just had to say that her husband was not in there, as that's where he was meant to be, even though during a scene before he's shown going into the house going to have tea. These sort of situations were unavoidable due to the fact that someone was late onto the stage, but nevertheless they should never be put into that situation. So I feel overall as a cast we could have stopped this, as we could have gone to Saskia quicker and told her, oh, you're on soon, why are you in the changing room? And although I think it's very good that people are capable of improvising and filling that space, it still was not how Gorky intended it, so I don't think it is how we should have delivered it as a cast. There was definitely a negative energy during the second show and less on the third show, as we, when off stage, were making comments to each other, and when people coming off they're like, oh, that was awful, when really we should have just been more positive and tried to bring more energy on. Jode in particular said when he tried to bring energy on, he felt like going onto a stage with that little energy meant he looked more like a caricature and was being very melodramatic, when in matter of fact that is how everyone should have been acting. I myself tried to bring it on a lot, but I often found going onto the stage my energy was drained. And I feel this could have been solved by us taking the warm-up more seriously and treating the second show just as important as the first and last. I feel that the third night we took it a lot more seriously as a company and definitely attempted to bring back a lot of what we had in the first night, although there was still the same problem of energy being lost and vocally still quite lazy. Of course, there was the mishap in our second show of Joden fraying the drink, which led to wetness on the stage and hitting an audience member. I feel that it was a very bold choice of him to make, which was right in the moment, as it did bring a lot more to the scene, and it made people react as it was something new, so everyone was a bit shocked, and it's how we should be reacting anyway to what he's saying. So I did feel it made a very nice naturalistic sense, but I don't think it should be relying on someone to do something completely out of the ordinary and something we've never seen before for us to be having those reactions. And that's why I think the first night was one of the strongest, as after having such a great warm-up with Simon, we were able to come on stage and just be reacting to everything and seeing everything as if it was fresh, giving the audience a far more enjoyable experience. One section in particular that I tried to change over the 3 nights was my calls from off stage, as over the 3 nights I felt it was slowly progressing to be better. As on the first night when I did the calling off stage for the first time, I felt that the audience didn't really get it, as they could tell someone was shouting off the stage and he was shouting from a certain location, but the lines I felt were being lost in what I was actually saying. So on the second night I tried to be completely staying in character for the entire time of being off stage. I felt that this worked a lot better, and then on the third night I felt that staying in character, and I tried to throw something new in with my lines, and I feel that this worked the best out of all 3, as it meant I could give a lot more through that section rather than what was being done before, as I felt I was still playing the same character, not just shouting a line from the side. One thing that I definitely felt went the best on the first night was my poems, as I felt they had a far more punky rhythm to them, which meant I was really showing the raw character on the stage. During the second show, I definitely feel the poems were at their worst, where I was at some points just reciting a line rather than giving a performance, and it just completely lost all meaning and essence to it. The third night I definitely brought the punk back a little bit, but I still feel that if there was another show I could have brought it back even more, and it could have been closer to the standard of the first night. I think that the set itself was fantastic, and being someone that had to move 2 items of set at the end of the first act, as we the actors know it, I thought that was quite an interesting thing, as it's never something I've really had to do before, as I've never been part of a technical side of theatre. Doing this was very interesting, as I sort of lost at first. I was still being a character and just running off stage trying to get it all off as quickly as possible. But I realised there's actually a very stylistic way that you're meant to do it. You have to be drawing as little attention as possible to yourself. And ODI, a Japanese practitioner, wrote and has a very powerful writings on the invisible actor and how an actor doesn't have to have this massive presence on the stage. He can just be there and exist. And I felt that this moment was a section where my character did just live and exist, and how he's just going about his normal life and he's just picking up this blanket and he's just picking up this chair and walking away. I felt that this was a very important thing that I had to master, because even though the lights were down, it doesn't stop the fact that people can still see me. They still know, oh, that's that character. Oh, he was that character that was doing the poetry before. Oh, what's he doing? Why is he running off? So I felt that finding a more naturalistic way to do that was very important. I felt lines being lost was probably one of our biggest problems as a cast, as we were constantly starting to overlap each other, because there's a very fine line between being on your cues and reacting to just overlapping and predicting what people are going to say and when they're going to say it. Some people that came to watch it did comment on this and how we were constantly overlapping, and I said yeah, it was a problem that we were facing and we were trying to solve it out. But at the same time, they very much liked this fact because they felt it was very much like real life when you're in a situation where you can never get a word in because there's all these egos just clashing against each other. Some scenes I felt stayed the same each night, and I didn't really feel there was a new emotion. I felt that we had found the emotion and we were running through the motions. Not that it wasn't fresh and it didn't feel right. It's very much between me and Shaniqua's sections. As we were going through the sections and we were performing it, but we never really had a new element to it. So on the final night I decided that I should unfamiliarize myself with those lines. So when going on, I had previously rehearsed lines in my head in multiple different accents. I did it as Mickey Mouse, I did it as a really thick Southern American accent, and I did it as Russian. Just so the lines were a bit messy in my head, so I could really be reacting to what she's saying rather than just waiting for my cue. I felt that on the third night this did change it a bit, and it did make me feel more of a connection to it. But at the same time, it never really had that great leap in difference from each night to night. In some ways it's very good as it gave it a nice consistency as a section, but at the same time it could have been more each time, it could have been slightly different each time to make it new and fresh for each different audience, so there's no two same viewing experiences. Working with the three-sided audience was actually quite a struggle, I found, as playing such a naturalistic play yet giving it out to each side is quite controversial, and so I felt it was quite difficult unless I was during my comedy sections, because within the comedy I felt it was easier to bring it out and give it out, as they're such sly and snarly comments that they can just be thrown out sideways. They can just be like a, ooh, she da-da-da, and so it can be just given out straight to the audience while making it in a naturalistic sense. I feel that I was proud of my quite daring decision to jump from accent to accent during my first scene, as it's something that could be seen as melodramatic or trying too hard, but I felt I built the character in such a way that he could pull off doing these jokey little lines to people, and it built quite a nice relationship between the characters, as it meant people weren't just fake laughing on stage like, oh bless, that's so funny. It was more of a, okay, that's actually something that I would actually laugh at in real life, and it's quite a comical situation, so it did add something very interesting. And it also gave a different level to this section, as me and Varia constantly have these moments where we were going down really low and we were just very melancholy, and we were just trying to get to the deeper roots of each other's emotional psyche, and then to have that completely flipped to a new, oh, Caleria's arrived, oh, let me make fun of Caleria by being this Frenchman who's smelling this odour of pure disgust, but he loves it. One issue we did have was that when on stage the teapot was covered by sellotape, so we couldn't actually pour any tea. I decided just not to touch the teapot, although it would have probably been a better decision, now I see in hindsight, if I removed the sellotape and poured tea straight away, so it was never really left to anyone else to solve. And it was only once Kate came on did I actually see that the teapot was covered by the sellotape when she went to pour it, but couldn't, because she only saw the sellotape after she poured, so then she had to continue the scene after pouring with a cup that was just empty. This was something that I think we should have checked, as it's not just up to the tech people that all these props are perfect. We as actors have our own individual props, and we need to take responsibility for every side of acting. I mean, we're working with people that are fellow students, so everyone makes mistakes, so we should all be chipping in to help each other, rather than making it, oh, this was your fault, oh, this was your job, why did you not do your job properly? And along the lines of doing jobs properly, I myself made a mistake, as me and Kia are meant to enter during Oshin and Kezia's section, but I was standing by the door ready to go in, but Kia was not there, so I had to run in the changing room and be like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, one sec, as she was sorting something out. So then we ended up coming onto the stage. slightly early, as we couldn't keep track of the lines as I was trying to hurry her and she was coming. So we ended up coming on 2 lines early, which ended up being quite awkward for the other actors, as they were having to react to something which was slightly too early, so it was slightly in the wrong section, so all the lines were just off a slight tad. Along with this, we had the second night blues, where we were very slow on the lines and they were just sort of dragging on, because there was definitely a weekend with our opening. So on the first night, I was the first person to enter the stage after Ben and Oshin's section. I was running on stage, I got to the centre of the stage and was able to shout, "We are the 99%. And then as I finished that line, it came on perfectly with everyone was screaming and shouting and coming on together. And it added quite a nice feel to it, where we were quite a malicious rioting group and we were there with a real political statement, and I feel that political statement came on and came across a lot better to the audience with that one clear line before the manic attack of everyone. I feel when we had such a great opening that time, it really just gave the whole audience a whole amazing feel, giving us actors such a great energy to work from, which then led into every scene that followed. Then the second night, we definitely lacked within the opening, and then that followed through for the whole play, as we never really got up to a higher energy level after starting on such a low one. And I definitely feel that it was us being lazy, and we definitely could have came in earlier that day, and we could have rehearsed properly, we could have got a proper run through, and we could have, because it's not just the job of the director to be there and to tell us when to come in. We should be considering ourselves professionals now, and we should be coming in early to do our own private warm-ups. We should be coming in early to work on scenes that didn't work that well. We should be coming in and doing all these things by our own accord, as it's never just up to one person to be in charge of it all. We're a whole ensemble, we're a whole cast, we should be working together. And overall, I think we did create a very enjoyable piece of theatre, and I was very proud to be part of it. I feel that we created characters that were definitely out of our comfort zones, as we were playing people much older than us for the most part. We were playing all these characters that are somewhat so ridiculously true, yet untrue in that same fact. So I feel overall it was a fantastic piece, and I was very happy to be part of it.